We are here with Brian Levine, Executive Director of the Glenn Gould Foundation.
Hello, Alida. How are you?
I'm so thrilled to be here, Brian.
Welcome to Toronto. Welcome to the Foundation.
Thank you very much. I'm feeling so excited, and I'm here with that. Oh my God, the Glenn Gould Prize.
That is the Glenn Gould Prize. This is the sculpture that was created by our very good friend Ruth Abernathy, one of Canada's really greatest sculptors, and she was inspired by Glenn from an early age because she began her career at the Stratford Shakespeare Festival, and Glenn, of course, years before that had been the co-music director of the Stratford Music Festival, which ran in parallel with the theater festival. So there was a lot of Glenn Gould in the air when she was there. And one of her first major commissions was the big life-size sculpture of Glenn on the park bench. And years after that, and of course that was commissioned by the foundation, so that's a very famous landmark in Toronto, we came back to Ruth and said, we need something special that depicts Glenn for the prize. So she came up with this really inspired idea. Glenn, the man of the North, in his coat, his hat, his scarf, walking on a field of snow on a winter's day. And in the winters in Canada, the sun goes down very early. It's very low in the sky, so the sun is coming from a low angle, casting a long shadow, and that long shadow is the base. So that's Glenn's shadow in the snow. And this is individually cast by Ruth. Each time we present the prize, she goes to the foundry and she oversees it being cast from her original molds. So every one is a unique creation from Ruth that honors our prize laureates. And it's actually, because it's bronze, it's quite heavy.
Absolutely super heavy.
Yes. If you put that under your papers, those papers are not going to fly away.
And this year, this beautiful prize went to Jessie Norman.
It will be presented to Jessie. She was selected as our laureate. We had a wonderful jury that came in April from 4 continents. We had jurors from Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America. And our chair, Viggo Mortensen, of course, is a very well-known film actor, but also a poet and a publisher and a musician and a photographer.
Multitasking.
Very, very multifaceted artist. And, you know, we had great singers, we had great minds from many different areas of the arts, and they selected one of the truly exceptional, extraordinary, towering figures in the world of singing.
There is this box that is here. It's very beautiful, decorated box.
This box is something called a palech miniature. It's a traditional form of Russian folk art with a lacquered surface on a wooden box. And this one has a very special history. It was donated to us last year by a member of Glenn's extended family, and this box, which I hope I can open, was presented to Glenn in Russia during this is some of the documentation, his Russian tour.
Yeah.
This was given to him by students of the Leningrad Conservatory of Music after his final concert in that tour of May of 1957, and the inscription which was put in it, and obviously those students probably didn't have a lot of money, so it probably was very costly for them, but it reads, to Glenn Gould, the flame of your art and passion will illuminate our hearts forever. Students of the Leningrad Conservatory. And it's marked 19th of May 1957, the day after the last concert in that tour. And to this day, Glenn is a source of tremendous inspiration to all Russian musicians and is probably the best-known Canadian who ever lived as far as the Russian people are concerned. So there's that beautiful case, which you can see, and we're very, very proud to have it in the Foundation's archives. That was a beautiful gift.
How about the social side of your trip, Glenn? Did you travel about, meet any Russians and such things?
Well, I should say that you are much too thoroughly chaperoned by your interpreter to do much traveling about on your own. I did meet a lot of the Russians, especially the musicians.
What sort of music did you play?
Well, I did fairly general programs, with the exception that I played a certain amount of music which is not, I think, too often heard in Russia, and did so deliberately.
For the Soviets, the music of Bach was seen as effectively evangelical music. So while not completely banned, Bach was more or less banished from the concert stage and from the music culture largely.
And people started going to the telephones outside and phoned all their friends. Quickly come to this recital. You've never heard anything like this. This man's genius.
Absolutely. And then Glenn traveled to Europe, and he also went to Italy.
He did, once only.
Yeah.
You know that his concert career was very short, as we know. He really began his international concert career in 1956 with the release of the Goldberg Variations. That's when things really started to open up for him. Before that, he'd only performed twice outside of Canada. The concert that he gave at the Phillips Collection in January of 1955, and then a few days later at Town Hall in New York, where he was discovered and signed to his lifelong recording contract with Columbia Records, later Sony Music. And it was really in 56 and 57 that he began to tour widely and get invitations from of course, the Russian concerts in Moscow and St. Petersburg, the Berlin Philharmonic with Herbert von Karajan, the New York Philharmonic with Leonard Bernstein, Cleveland Orchestra, George Sell. A lot of that was in 1957, so the 60th anniversary was last year. But this year, there were two other countries that he performed in only once, and to enormous success. One was Israel, and the other one was Italy. So his concerts in Rome and Firenze, that we know the most about, were hugely celebrated. We've seen examples of the reviews and the comparisons of Glenn to James Dean, the romantic, wild rebel of the piano. And obviously, I think they were somewhat influenced by Glenn's good looks and his charm and charisma.
Absolutely.
So that really was it. But if Italian music lovers feel that Glenn wasn't generous in the number of times he went, it's good to remember that his entire concert career, from very start to finish, from student concerts to concerts before the Goldberg Variation to the time he stopped giving concerts in public, all of that took place over from the early 1950s to 1963, and in total it was less than 200 concerts.
Now we live in an era where photographs and images is really important. Mm-hmm. And Glenn maybe believes also in the building himself as characters, as a kind of actors. I mean, James Dean kind of, Marlon Brando of the piano, all right? And I would love to ask you about the collaboration of photographer and artist.
Yes. Well, I think that Glenn was, from talking to people that he worked with closely, from his friends, from, the work that he did and what he wrote, I think that he was both very, very mindful of his image and also, in some ways, indifferent to it. Indifferent because I don't think that he wanted to glorify himself. I don't think that he was driven by personal vanity. I don't think that he necessarily cared that he be as handsome and as made up and I think he hated makeup. I think he hated, glamorization Certainly, as years passed, he didn't care about what clothes he was photographed in or appeared on film. So he didn't want to be like a Hollywood star. I think that he understood that the image of the recluse, of the hermit, the person who is not available to the public, could serve his goals very effectively. He wanted to have the time and the privacy to create without interruptions and interference and things that would cause him anxiety and distraction. But he also wanted to have enough success that there would be revenue, money coming in, so that he could continue to work. I think that ultimately work was his focus, the creation of his art was his focus, and creating an image that served both his practical success but also his privacy requirements was the perfect solution. And so I think that what came to him naturally, which was to not be in front of the public, not to be a star, to be an anti-celebrity, was really a goal that in a strange way made him more of a celebrity, because everyone wants what they can't have, and if they can't have a chance to see Glenn in person, that's what they want more than anything. And it's also true that it created the space he needed to create. So it was an incredibly ingenious way, and I think that it was a way that no one really had thought of. One or two people like the writer J.D. Salinger, but I think Glenn came first in embracing privacy as a form of celebrity.
And Glenn loves also nature, animals, children.
Yes.
He was a very normal guy.
He was. He was and he wasn't. He was a unique guy and a unique personality, but I think that the presentation of his eccentricities, if you will, has been greatly exaggerated. I think the best way of describing it is Glenn was a person who saw the world in his own unique terms, with his own powerful vision. His way of relating to people was warm, personable, funny, humorous. He was anything really but a hermit. But to feel happy and to have the space to create and to have the time to think and to develop the ideas that would form his philosophy, his artistic work, he needed distance, and he valued distance, and he loved privacy. So many of his relationships, it's true, were conducted at a physical distance using the telephone. Well, I hate to say it, but he's not alone. We have a whole generation of millennials who live by text, live by their cell phones, and often will have friendships that are based on not seeing people in physical terms for long periods of time. How was Glenn any different? He was just ahead of his time.
He was a
millennial before the millennium.
Yeah. So, Brian, thank you so much for this great interview and for welcoming us today in the Glenn Gould Foundation. And I would love to remember to the people the website of the Glenn Gould Foundation.
www.glenngould.ca. And remember, 2 N's in Glenn. And I would like to remind everyone that D Major TV is an outstanding organization that does so much to promote classical music in our time, to bring it to audiences that don't normally have a chance to experience it, and most valuable of all, creates tremendous opportunities for gifted young artists. It's hard to make a career in classical music, in any form of music, and to have an organization working right in Milan to help the next generation to find a way to a public, to have opportunities, and to be inspired by great artists like Glenn Gould, that is so precious. So we value and we love everything that you're doing, and we're so happy to collaborate with you on projects like this.
Thank you very much, Brian. And I would love to say the last things to the interview.
Yes.
It's ciao a tutti.
Ciao a tutti.